Commander Sarah Chen hadn't expected to make first contact during a rescue operation. The distress beacon had led her team to this desolate moon, where twisted metal from the crashed vessel scattered across the crimson landscape like fallen leaves. Her combat suit's sensors picked up multiple life signs, none of them human. The crashed ship's architecture was unlike anything in humanity's database. Sweeping organic curves merged with crystalline structures that seemed to pulse with inner light. Whatever, or whoever, had built it was far beyond Earth's current technological capabilities. Matrix formation. She subvocalized to her squad, watching their acknowledgement lights blink green in her heads-up display. 12 years of special operations experience had taught her to trust her instincts, and right now every nerve ending screamed that they weren't alone. The alien emerged from the wreckage like liquid mercury taking form. Nearly 3 meters tall, its iridescent exoskeleton shifted colors as it moved, perfectly adapted for camouflage. But what caught Sarah's attention were its eyes, compound structures that reflected the strange purple light of this moon's sky. It was wounded. Purple fluid leaked from a gash in its side, and one of its 4 arms hung limp. Despite its obvious injuries, it moved with predatory grace, sizing up Sarah and her team with unmistakable intelligence. Hold positions, Sarah ordered as her squad's weapon systems automatically targeted the creature. Let's see what we're dealing with. The alien's head tilted, mandibles clicking in what might have been curiosity or aggression. Then it did something unexpected. It lowered its functioning arms in what was clearly a non-threatening gesture. Help. The word emerged as a mix of clicks and whistles, but Sarah's universal translator captured its meaning. Others. Trapped. Sarah made a decision that would alter the course of human history. She lowered her weapon and stepped forward, removing her helmet in a calculated risk. The alien's compound eyes widened at the sight of her human face. "I'm Commander Chen," she said clearly, knowing her translator would convert her words. "We're here to help." The alien's color shifted to a deep blue. "I am 3rd Scout Zixtal of the Veteran Expeditionary Force. Our ship, we were attacked. The young ones are still inside." The ground trembled. From the other side of the wreckage, a massive shape emerged, a predator native to this moon, drawn by the crash. Its 6-limbed form rippled with muscle beneath armor-like scales, and its twin rows of eyes glowed with hunting fever. Sarah's squad raised their weapons, but she held up a hand. The predator was between them and the ship's entrance where the young ones were trapped. Traditional weapons fire might trigger a cave-in. She reached slowly to her belt and withdrew a simple combat knife. The alien scout's color shifted to alarm. "You cannot fight it alone," Zixtal clicked urgently. "Its hide is too thick." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Sometimes the best way to deal with a predator isn't to overpower it. She activated her suit's strength amplifiers. "It's to show it you're a bigger predator." The creature charged. Sarah moved with enhanced speed, rolling under its first strike. Her knife found the gap between scales she'd spotted during her initial assessment. Not a killing blow. She didn't need one. She just needed to prove a point. The predator roared in pain and surprise, whirling to face her. Sarah stood her ground, knife held low, eyes locked with the beast's. She didn't blink, didn't flinch. Let it see in her gaze what humanity's enemies had learned over countless battlefields, that determination could overcome any advantage in size or strength. The creature backed away, then turned and flowed into the rocky wasteland. Behind her, she heard Zixtal's mandibles clicking rapidly, their equivalent of shocked whispers. "Your species," the alien scout said slowly. "You are not what we expected." Sarah turned back to the crashed ship. "Let's get your people out of there. Then we can discuss expectations." As they worked to free the trapped veteran younglings, Sarah couldn't help but smile. First contact hadn't gone anything like the diplomatic protocols had planned. But maybe that was for the best. Sometimes the truest understanding came not from formal words, but from actions in moments of crisis. The rescue operation would be only the beginning. Humanity had just proven itself to an advanced alien species, not through technology or words, but through the qualities that had taken them to the stars in the first place: courage, adaptability, and the willingness to risk everything to help others in need. The universe, Sarah suspected, would never be quite the same. The Vedran High Council chamber stretched toward a crystalline dome that captured the light of 3 suns, sending rainbow refractions dancing across walls that seemed to breathe. Commander Sarah Chen stood at ease, though her combat suit's sensors registered elevated threat levels from the dozen Vedran guards positioned around the room. 2 weeks had passed since the rescue on the Crimson Moon. What should have been a simple evacuation had turned into an unprecedented first contact situation, and now humanity's first official delegation to the Vedran Collective consisted of a special operations commander and her squad. Your actions were unexpected. High Speaker Ctul's translucent exoskeleton rippled with patterns that Sarah's cultural training identified as mixed uncertainty and respect. Our data suggested humans were a primitive species, barely capable of interstellar travel. We found it's usually a mistake to underestimate humans, Sarah replied diplomatically. Behind her, she could sense her squad maintaining perfect formation, presenting the disciplined face of humanity to their alien hosts. Third Scout Zixtal stepped forward, their colors shifting to the deep blue that Sarah now recognized as emphasis. High Speaker, I have witnessed their capabilities firsthand. The human commander demonstrated not just physical prowess, but tactical insight that rivals our most experienced warriors. The chamber erupted in clicking debates among the council members. Sarah waited patiently, studying their color patterns. The Vedran were far more expressive than their rigid exoskeletons suggested, if you knew how to read them. There is another matter. A different council member's patterns shifted to warning red. Our long-range sensors have detected multiple vessels of the swarm approaching our outer colonies. They grow bolder, testing our defenses. Sarah's tactical mind immediately engaged. The swarm, a hostile species that had been pressuring Vedran space for generations. This explained the crashed scout ship and why the Vedran had been pushing into this sector of space. Perhaps, she offered carefully, this is an opportunity for both our species. The council chamber stilled. High Speaker Ctul's colors shifted to curiosity. Explain. Your technology is generations ahead of ours, Sarah acknowledged. But humans have something unique to offer. Adaptability. We've faced countless challenges on our path to the stars, and each one has made us stronger. We don't just survive difficulties, we learn from them. She stepped forward, activating her suit's holoprojector. A tactical display materialized, showing Vedran space and the approaching swarm vectors. Your ships are superior, but your tactics are predictable. The swarm has learned to counter them. We could help you introduce chaos into the equation. You propose a military alliance. Ctul's colors swirled with interest. Based on what evidence of your capabilities? Sarah smiled. Why don't you let us show you? The next 3 days were a revelation for both species. In simulated combat scenarios, Sarah's squad demonstrated human tactical doctrine against Vedran elite units. The aliens' superior technology and natural abilities were impressive, but humanity's unconventional thinking and ability to improvise repeatedly turned the tide. Remarkable. Zixtal commented after watching Sarah's team use terrain features in ways the Vedran had never considered. Your species thinks in patterns we would never conceive. That's our greatest strength, Sarah explained, watching her squad interact with their Vedran counterparts, barriers beginning to break down. Humans are tool makers, problem solvers. We see possibilities where others see obstacles. The Council's decision came swiftly after that. The alliance was approved, with Sarah's team assigned to train an elite joint human Vedran unit. It would be the first of many. As she watched humans and Vedrans working together in the training grounds, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come from that first tense encounter on the Crimson Moon. The Vedran were learning that humanity's relative primitive technology didn't make them less worthy allies. And humans were learning that sometimes the most alien-looking beings could become the most reliable partners. Your people have a saying, Zixtal approached, their colors showing the relaxed patterns of friendship, about necessity and invention. Necessity is the mother of invention. Sarah nodded. It means we're at our best when challenged. Then perhaps the swarm will regret challenging both our peoples. Zixtal's colors flickered with anticipation. They expect to face veteran predictability. They will find human chaos instead. Sarah grinned. The universe was about to learn what happened when human ingenuity combined with veteran power. The swarm wouldn't know what hit them. And this was just the beginning. As she watched a human marine explaining improvised tactics to a fascinated group of veteran warriors, Sarah knew that both species were evolving, growing stronger together. The language of warriors, it seemed, truly was universal. The ancient arena of Cathar Prime stretched before Sarah like a frozen ocean. Crystal formations jutted from its surface at impossible angles, refracting the light of the system's binary stars into prismatic displays that would have been beautiful if they weren't so deadly. One wrong step, one miscalculated angle, and those same crystals would slice through even her enhanced combat suit. The trial of ascension has not been attempted by an outsider in 10,000 cycles. Zixtal's colors shifted with concern as they helped Sarah check her equipment one final time. The crystal maze changes constantly, even our greatest warriors. That's why it's perfect, Sarah interrupted, making a final adjustment to her suit's power distribution. The swarm is almost here. Your council needs to be convinced that humans can adapt to any situation before they'll fully commit to our joint defense strategy. The stands surrounding the arena were filled with veteran observers, their exoskeletons creating a rippling rainbow as they shifted and clicked in anticipation. In the council's private box, High Speaker K'tal watched with unreadable colors. Remember, Zixtal's mandibles clicked rapidly. You must reach the sphere of ascension at the center before your opponent. But the crystals will shift and change throughout the trial. Yeah, I got it. Sarah sealed her helmet, checking the heads-up display one last time. Any other last-minute advice? Try not to die. Zixtal's colors flickered with what Sarah had learned was their version of gallows humor. Her opponent emerged from the other side of the arena. K'tal's own offspring, Varthol, a warrior prodigy whose combat record was unblemished. Nearly 4 meters tall, their exoskeleton enhanced with ceremonial armor that made them look like a living weapon. The human honors us by attempting the trial. Varthol's translator conveyed their formal tone. May your death be worthy of song. Sarah just nodded, taking her position at the arena's edge. The crystals hummed with energy, beginning their ancient dance of rearrangement. The trial was about to begin. The deep tone resonated through the arena. Sarah moved. Her first steps were careful, measured, as she analyzed the crystal patterns. There was a rhythm to their movement, like a complex mathematical equation expressed in deadly geometry. Varthol charged straight ahead, using their superior strength and armor to power through smaller crystals. Sarah took a different approach. Where Varthol saw obstacles to be overcome, she saw opportunities. A shifting crystal became a launching pad. A deadly formation became momentary cover. She didn't fight the arena's pattern. She became part of it. Impossible. She heard someone in the stands click. The human is dancing with the crystals. She was halfway to the center when the first real challenge came. A massive crystal formation erupted between her and the sphere, its faceted surface reflecting her image 1,000 times. Varthol was trapped on the other side, their brute force approach finally failing them. Sarah studied the formation, her mind racing. The crystals weren't just moving randomly. They were responding to pressure, to movement, to energy, she whispered. Her suit's power core was affecting their behavior. She quickly rerouted power, creating a deliberate pattern of energy emissions. The crystals responded, creating gaps just large enough for someone with human agility to slip through. The audience's clicking reached a fever pitch as she emerged on the other side. well ahead of her opponent. The sphere of ascension pulsed before her, its surface swirling with ancient symbols. Varthol burst through the crystal formation behind her, their exoskeleton showing patterns of frustration and determination. "How?" they demanded. "How are you predicting the patterns?" "I'm not," Sarah replied, keeping her eyes on the sphere. "I'm adapting to them. There's a difference." The final approach was the deadliest. Crystals moved like liquid glass, their edges promising instant death. But Sarah had found her rhythm now. Each step was precisely timed, each movement part of a larger dance with the arena itself. Her hand closed around the sphere moments before Varthol reached it. The crystals froze. Their deadly dance ended. The arena fell silent. High-speaker call rose in their observation box, their colors shifting through patterns Sarah had never seen before. In 10,000 cycles, their voice carried across the arena. "No one has ever completed the trial by working with the crystals rather than against them. You have shown us a new way, Commander Chen." Sarah removed her helmet, letting them see her face. "That's what humans do. We don't just overcome challenges. We learn from them, adapt to them, find new ways to turn them to our advantage." She turned to Varthol, offering them the sphere. "Your strength is impressive, but sometimes strength alone isn't enough." Varthol's colors shifted to a deep, respectful blue as they accepted the sphere. Perhaps there is much our peoples can learn from each other." The council chamber erupted in approving clicks and color changes. The alliance was no longer just a diplomatic arrangement. It was now validated by ancient tradition. As Sarah looked out over the arena, she knew this was more than just a personal victory. She had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons or technology, but in their ability to see solutions where others saw only obstacles. The swarm was coming, but now the veteran would face them with new tactics, new perspectives. Human adaptability combined with veteran power would be a force the galaxy had never seen before. And it had all started with learning to dance with crystals. The tactical display aboard the veteran flagship, Crystal Dawn, showed thousands of swarm vessels approaching like a tide of darkness. Sarah stood alongside High Commander Varthol, watching the enemy advance. The veteran warrior's exoskeleton rippled with battle-ready purples and deep crimsons, colors that Sarah had learned to associate with focused aggression. "They follow their previous assault patterns exactly," Varthol noted, their mandibles clicking in contemplation. "The swarm has never needed to change tactics before. Their numbers have always been sufficient." Sarah smiled grimly inside her combat suit. "Then they're in for a surprise." Status of the hybrid squadrons. All units report ready. Zixtal, now promoted to wing commander, approached the tactical display. "Though some of our warriors are still adjusting to the unconventional modifications." The modifications had been Sarah's idea. Veteran crystal technology merged with human chaos theory algorithms. Their ships now possessed the ability to create unpredictable energy patterns that could disrupt the swarm's hive mind coordination. At least, that was the theory. Multiple swarm vectors launching attack formations, the sensor officer reported, their colors pulsing with urgency. Time to engagement, 3 minutes. Sarah activated the fleet-wide communications. "All units, execute Operation Firefly. Remember your training. Don't think like them. Think like us." The human veteran hybrid squadrons moved into position. Traditional veteran battle doctrine would have arranged them in perfect geometric formations. Instead, they scattered in seemingly random patterns, each ship maintaining irregular energy signatures that Sarah's team had designed to play havoc with swarm coordination. The first wave of swarm ships hit like a tsunami of chitin and biomechanical horror. But where they expected to find orderly veteran resistance, they encountered organized chaos. Hybrid squadrons danced through space in unpredictable patterns, their crystal-powered weapons striking from impossible angles. Energy disruption patterns at 70% effectiveness, Zixtal reported, their colors brightening with excitement. The swarm formations are fragmenting. Sarah watched as the enemy's usually perfect coordination began to break down. Individual swarm ships, cut off from their hive mind by the disruption fields, fell into confusion. The veterans' superior firepower, now guided by human tactical unpredictability, tore through their ranks. But the swarm wasn't the galaxy's greatest threat for nothing. A massive ship emerged from their rear lines, a queen carrier, nearly the size of a small moon. Its presence seemed to stabilize the disrupted swarm vessels, reinforcing their psychic connections. They're adapting. Varthol's colors shifted to concern. The queen carrier is compensating for our disruption fields. Sarah studied the tactical display, her mind racing. Then we'll give them something else to adapt to. Zixtal, remember that crazy human idea we discussed? The wing commander's colors flickered with what Sarah now recognized as anticipation. The crystal resonance cascade. But the calculations were impossible for either of our species alone. Sarah finished. But together. She turned to Varthol. Permission to execute Operation Thunderclap. The High Commander's colors swirled as they considered the risks. The plan would use the crystal technology that powered their ships in a way it was never designed for, creating a massive energy feedback loop that would theoretically overload the swarm's psychic network. The calculations must be perfect, Varthol warned. If we make a mistake, we won't, Sarah assured them. Human intuition, veteran precision. That's why we're stronger together. Varthol's colors settled into decisive patterns. Execute Operation Thunderclap. What followed was a dance of physics and faith. Human ships darted between veteran cruisers in complex patterns, their modified crystal cores building a resonance web. The swarm pressed their attack, sensing something happening but unable to understand the threat. Resonance at 80%. Zixtal reported. 90. Maximum saturation achieved. Now, Sarah commanded. The energy web collapsed inward, focusing on the queen carrier. Space itself seemed to ripple as the cascading resonance tore through the swarm's psychic network. Ships began to drift, their crews overwhelmed by the feedback. The queen carrier's psychic emissions are failing, the sensor officer reported, their colors bright with victory. Swarm coordination is breaking down across all sectors. Sarah watched as the mighty swarm armada began to fragment. Without their queen's guidance, the individual ships reverted to basic survival instincts. Some fled, others attacked blindly, but their fearsome coordination was shattered. All units, execute cleanup protocols, Varthol ordered, their colors showing pride and satisfaction. Target priority ships first. Hours later, as the last swarm stragglers were being hunted down, Sarah stood in the Crystal Dawn's observation dome, watching the debris field that had once been an invincible enemy fleet. Zixtal joined her, their colors showing the calm blues of reflection. You knew it would work, they stated, even when our best mathematicians said the resonance cascade was impossible. Sarah shrugged. Sometimes the impossible just needs a new perspective. Humans are good at that. Indeed. Zixtal's colors shifted to curious patterns. Our council is already discussing further integration of our forces. There is talk of permanent joint commands, technology sharing. The beginning of a true partnership, Sarah nodded. The galaxy won't know what hit it. As if to emphasize her words, a piece of swarm debris tumbled past the observation window, a testament to what could be achieved when two species learn to combine their strengths instead of fearing their differences. 1 year after the Battle of the Queen Carrier, the crystalline spires of New Unity Station sparkled against the backdrop of space. The joint human-veteran installation represented everything the Alliance had achieved, a perfect blend of veteran crystal technology and human engineering innovation. Sarah stood at the station's main observation deck, now wearing the newly created insignia of Joint Fleet Commander. Her reflection in the transparent crystal viewport showed how much had changed. Her combat suit now incorporated veteran crystal matrices, while the station around her hummed with human-designed chaos algorithms. Contemplating the void again, Commander. Varthol approached, their exoskeleton showing the comfortable color patterns of old friendship. The veteran warrior had grown so accustomed to working with humans that they developed new color patterns specifically for interspecies communication. Contemplating change, Sarah replied, gesturing to the construction yards visible outside. New ships were taking shape, vessels that were neither purely human nor veteran, but something entirely new. Did you ever imagine we'd come this far when you were trying to crush me in the crystal arena? Varthol's colors shifted to amused patterns. I was more concerned with understanding how a primitive human had learned to dance with our sacred crystals. They'd moved closer to the viewport. The council meets today to discuss the expansion proposal. Sarah nodded. After their victory over the swarm, other species had taken notice. The Arcturian Confederation and the Rigel Collective had both expressed interest in joining what was becoming known as the Unity Alliance. The combination of human adaptability and veteran technology had proven too compelling to ignore. Commander, Zixtal's voice came over the comm. You're needed in Laboratory 7. There's been a breakthrough. The laboratory was a testament to interspecies cooperation. Human scientists worked alongside veteran crystal shapers, their different approaches to problem-solving creating solutions neither species would have conceived alone. Dr. Helena Ross, Earth's leading xenotechnologist, greeted them with barely contained excitement. We've done it, she announced, gesturing to a crystalline matrix floating in the center of the room. The crystal consciousness transfer is stable. This was the project that could change everything. A way to directly share experiences and knowledge between species using modified veteran crystal technology. The implications for understanding and cooperation between different races were staggering. Are you certain it's safe? Varthol's colors showed careful concern. After the swarm's psychic network, anything involving mental connections was treated with caution. That's the beautiful part, Dr. Ross explained. We used human brainwave patterns as a template. Our natural neural plasticity makes the connection stable but resistant to any form of forced synchronization. No hive mind, just understanding. Sarah watched the floating crystal pulse with gentle light. Have we tested it? We were waiting for you. Zixtal stepped forward, their colors showing determination. As the one who first showed us how humans and veteran could work together, it seemed appropriate. The procedure was deceptively simple. Sarah and Zixtal each placed a hand on the crystal matrix. The world shifted, expanded, became something more. She experienced the crystal song that all veteran could hear, understood how they saw the world through both light and emotion. In turn, Zixtal felt the unique human drive to explore, to question, to find new solutions to old problems. When it ended, both stood in silence for a moment, processing the experience. Zixtal's colors swirled with patterns Sarah had never seen before, and yet now understood perfectly. This is what we've been working toward, she said finally. Not just alliance, but true understanding. The station's alert system chimed softly. The council session was about to begin. As they made their way to the chamber, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come from that first tense encounter on a crimson moon. The council chamber itself reflected the changes. The traditional veteran architecture now incorporated human design elements, creating a space that felt welcoming to both species. High Speaker Call, their colors showing formal patterns, addressed the assembled delegates. We gather to discuss the expansion of our alliance. But first, we have received the results of the Consciousness Transfer Project. Sarah stepped forward. It works exactly as hoped. Complete understanding without loss of individual identity. A way to truly know each other while remaining true to ourselves. Then perhaps, Catal's colors shifted to show hope and possibility. It is time to share this gift with others. Our victory over the swarm showed what two species could accomplish together. Imagine what might be possible with more voices, more perspectives, more ways of seeing the universe. As the council erupted in discussion, Sarah shared a look with her veteran friends. They had begun with a chance encounter and a recognition of shared warrior spirit. Now they were building something that could reshape the galaxy, not through conquest or domination, but through understanding and cooperation. The stars visible through the chamber's crystal dome seemed brighter somehow, full of new possibilities. Humanity had reached for the stars seeking adventure and discovery. They had found something far more valuable, a way to grow beyond themselves while remaining uniquely human. The future, Sarah realized, would be neither human nor Vedran, but something greater than either. And it had all started with a moment of recognition between two different kinds of predators, proving that the greatest strengths often come not from standing alone, but from learning to stand together.